Hey MGTOWs, this is Vention. Still in Mexico, still waiting for my PET scan results. I actually got them, and this morning I went over to the cancer clinic, and apparently they haven't gotten them yet. So I forwarded my copy to them, and I'm just a diesel mechanic, but but the but the test, the radiologist report, along with the pictures, basically I put it through Google Translate because it was all in Spanish, and I basically got the impression that, it was saying that the liver tumors are there and appear to be cancerous, but they seem to be dead in the middle. There's like a sheath on the outside, and then it seems to be like, they call it necrotic in the middle, which is good, which means the whole tumor's not alive. But when I got the rest of my tumors and everything, like the whole rectum removal and tumor removal thing there, I went back home and I got a CEA test, and it was pretty high. It was like 800, so it was like pretty darn high. But healing tissues also produce that same CEA reading. So the result is, I really can't know, what the real reading is. But I got the test anyway, just in case. So anyway, as soon as I get that information, as soon as, pardon me, as soon as I get the information on the tumors and everything, then maybe I'll get a shot at getting that liver hypertherapy, hypothermia, where they jam that probe in there and then heat up the tumor. And then once they heat up the outside, it won't act like a sheath around the necrotic tumors, part of the tumor. So then the thing should be able to then collapse and then get reabsorbed and turned into energy. Basically, there was also some mention of something in my lungs, and I feel kind of a little something I have for like about a month or so. If I inhale all the way, I get a little bit of discomfort in my rib cage, like way down here. So, but that could be liver too. That's where the liver is. The lungs are a little higher up. So you never really know, and it's in Spanish, and I'm a diesel mechanic, not a doctor. But soon they will get me in there, and now that they have the information, the doctors would be able to interpret it, because that's their business, and then they'll be able to see what's what. But even if I do have a problem in my lung, like a tumor growing in there, if I get rid of the liver tumors, and I've already gotten rid of the rectal tumors, that will decrease the amount of immune system effort that will be needed to keep that under check or in check. Then I might be able to get something, I don't know, maybe radiation or something, to work on the lung tumor, if I have a lung tumor. But I don't really know, because I was really having a hard time reading their medical jargon translated through Google Translate. So yeah, I'll just wait for the results from the doctor. So in other news, man, the whole election thing sure is been crazy. It's like, wow, it's this whole, you see, one group of elites it appears, have been running the country for a long time, and they've been printing the money, and and enjoying the harvest and the ability to harvest all of the, the wealth and the inflation tax and print all the money they want, and they've just been running the whole thing, and they've been working to decrease our resistance to their manipulations and their control. But in doing so, they've been doing things like the Marxist indoctrination in the schools and sowing division, and they've been basically just weakening our ability to be a free people. And now it appears we have a whole different group of elites run by, I guess you could put them all under the Soros banner, and they have been ramping the whole thing up dramatically even more, and ramping up the Marxist indoctrination in schools, and pushing the whole critical race theory, and sowing as much division as they can in the country, and then working on the media and gaining control of them and much of the government. Supposedly they do things like subsidizing college students who want to go into law and then be district attorneys and stuff, and then they have a quid pro quo thing. And I think China's in there somewhere too, but I'm kind of thinking China is underneath the banner of Soros, but I'm not sure. I'm just a diesel mechanic. But in any case, it's a nasty business, and we, we're sort of under attack no matter what, no matter which side's running the country. But as far as the illusion of democracy, we've got it. We've got some democracy, but they're working to push us down into a sort of a subservient working class, like in North Korea, and it's a nasty business. But the thing is, MGTOW will be more resistant to that, and we've got our eyes open more than all the low information voters who brought Biden in. I don't even know we don't know if he's going to be the next president or not, but basically either way, they're still coming after our guns, still coming after our freedom, and of course once they get our freedom, they want our money and everything else, basically. So but since we are MGTOW, our eyes are more open, we're more red pill, and the pitfalls that will be placed in front of the normies that they all fall into, like divorce and all tons of different problems, like IRS problems and whatnot, and basically they fall into and medical bills. A lot of people are bankrupted by medical, and then they fall into these traps, and then they're and if they survive, they basically get pulled out and go bankrupt and lose everything, and then they start over again. So we, however, can see those pitfalls and those little traps that they have set up for the normies, and we can sort of step around those traps and avoid the problems which we would otherwise run into. I would still recommend having a gun if you can get it, and if not, some other kinds of means of self-defense, because what the Soros crowd wants is for us to be disarmed and helpless against the brown shirts, which are running around burning down the businesses and whatnot. And then the governors, the law enforcement and whatnot, will be called off, and the prosecutors won't prosecute, and they'll just be saying, there's no riots, there's no brown shirts, you're just a bigot. So if it gets too bad, it's wise to make sure that you're ready to leave the country, not necessarily permanently, but at least for a while. So I would highly recommend socking away every penny you can get a hold of, and I would recommend putting it into Bitcoin, but I am not a financial advisor, so I can't advise that. But well, that's what I'd be doing if I were still working. So, and as far as Bitcoins go, wow, man, nice gains we've been seeing today. We've been bouncing up against the ceiling of 14,000 for like days, and now we broke through it. And we might drop back down, and we have, back into the 13,000 range. But the pressure is really pushing Bitcoins up. And man, I am fully confident that we'll see 100 grand Bitcoin by the end of next year. And that's a low estimate. With the way all these corporations and, publicly traded companies are reporting that they are adding Bitcoins to their reserves, their cash reserves, because of the inflation, and so many other companies are now buying that I can't see Bitcoin going anywhere but pretty dramatically up. So, man, if I was still working, I'd still be buying, but as it is, I'm sitting on a nice stack of Bitcoins, and there has to come a time when a guy has to say he's content. And I am content with what I have. I don't feel like gambling or trying to trade to add to my Bitcoin stack, because if I have played my cards right, what I have should be enough. And what am I going to do? Leave it to my kids? I don't have any kids. So, because of the delays in the PET scan results and all that, I extended my stay here at the hotel. I was looking at Airbnbs, but I am just not confident in that yet. I'm one of those weirdos who have a hard time trying new things sometimes. But if something works, I keep working on it and really push at it, like crypto and Bitcoins. For example, during the big, huge 2017 bear market, I am so lucky to be a MGTOW, because no woman would have let me continue averaging into Bitcoin and continuing to buy Bitcoin when we were coming down from like $20,000 Bitcoins, and every month it was lower, and we were just crashing down to like 8,000, then up to like 15,000, then back down. And all that time I was calmly, every time I got my mechanic paycheck, I would just put some of it into Bitcoin and go on with my life. And then when the Hoffman line broke and the $6,000 line broke, well, which was called the Hoffman line before it broke, he was saying, "It's the Hoffman line," that Hoffman guy. And he was saying, "The Hoffman line will not break, $6,000 the floor." And it crashed down to 3,200, but I had some money, so I kept buying. And then during this most recent and that's one of the things about being red pill. The economic cycle, when you stop getting your news from the corporate media, things like the economic cycle become much more visible to you. And I was able to capitalize on it before by, in the 2008 crash, by buying into silver, and then and I had gold too, but my gold went up 70%, my silver went up 260%. And I took some of those gains and I bought my house, because in 2012, everybody was like thinking the world was going to end, and they even made a movie called 2012, and it was about the world ending. So that is the time to buy real estate, right? So and then I sold it for 310 because I have been smelling another 2008 crash since early 2018. I was like, man, it's coming. It is. I can smell it. It is on the way. So I started making plans to sell the house, and then I did the whole cancer thing, and I started working on that, and then I rented the rental house and then sold the house for 310, and it's gone up a bit since then, but the dollars aren't worth as much because basically as of like 3 months ago, 22% of all US dollars have been printed in 2020. Like 22%, basically that's 22% inflation. Now, big corporate media and everything take a lot of that money, most of the vast majority of that money, and it stays locked up so it doesn't trigger price rises in like Fruit Loops and cornflakes that a lot of people buy, right? So, but still, even so, we're seeing a significant amount of inflation. And over the next year or so, we're going to see a lot more. And that is really going to push Bitcoin up. So I am hugely bullish in non-inflationary assets that are harder to seize, such as Bitcoin and gold and silver and stuff like that. So, so I'm watching now for what's going to happen if Biden gets elected, right? And the fraud and the lies in the media and the total Pravda fake news. I'm kind of curious how that's going to affect the U.S. and how that's going to affect my own life, right? So, unlike normies, I'm a MGTOW, right? I can go anywhere, I could stay right here, I could move anywhere in Mexico. I could move to the Philippines or the Thailand or, well, not Thailand, they're still locked up, but other places. But of course, in these places, I would have to give up my guns. So basically, it's supply and demand. If things get so bad that they actually make gun ownership, really difficult, I will have no reason to stay in the U.S. anymore. So I'll take my Bitcoins and go elsewhere, right? But there will be, but I could also go rural because there will be a lot of people who are in, blue states and whatnot who will realize they don't really fit in very well. Like I'm from Washington State. Man, I do not fit in there very well. So unless I went to like Eastern Washington or something, but so I am tempted to move to a place where I will fit in more and I will be, more like everybody else, more red-pilled, more eyes open, more aware, and of course more to the right. And so it's really hard to tell, where will I go, so, and it's I'm not going to spend a lot of time agonizing over the election. I'm not going to, if there's something I could do to help, I might be inclined to do so, but basically it looks like the Soros crowd and the media and the not the low information voters, they lose no matter what, but they managed to use the low information voters to really have a good shot at getting their shills into the Oval Office. So, man, sad situation to see something like this, but it's also very important to keep your eyes open Don't moan about it too much. Don't agonize over it too much, but make plans. Keep your eyes open. Don't let your eyes close, and plan for and watch for the new pitfalls that will open up, and make sure that you're able to avoid them. Going MGTOW is like 80% of the solution right there, because having a family and children and whatnot to anchor you down, I mean, that just that makes you so easy to harvest and abuse by government and any in local government and SJW freaks. All these people, they can victimize you much more easily if you have hostages that they can use against you. But I have no hostages. The closest thing I have to a hostage is my leftist old man and my leftist sister, both of which got ballots in the mail, and my Republican ass did not get a ballot. I had to make a special request. Not that it did much good. Washington is still a blue state. Inslee still got reelected, the freaking lockdown governor who won't move against the rioters. Nasty business. So it's important. It's important to keep your eyes open, plan, and save every penny you can, and get your personal flexibility up. Get your personal financial flexibility up. Get your physical flexibility up. Get rid of a lot of shit that you don't need so that you can move quick if you have to. And I am sitting on the fence, as far as which way to go. Should I sell everything and move overseas? If so, I would have to give up my guns, and basically the leftists have won already, from that. Or I could go rural, and do the roaming mechanic for permaculture communities thing, and maybe find some rural community that I would want to settle in, that I would fit into better. Man, it's important. I mean, it's important to make plans, keep your eyes open, and really watch what's going on, and because we cannot afford to be sleepwalking through our lives the way the low information voters do, because man, they suffer so bad. I mean, they get divorced all the time, and they pay massive child support, and they eat all the garbage like I've been eating for a couple of days, but I've been eating better lately. Like on the buffet this morning, I had like an omelet and fruit, and the closest thing to cheating as far as that goes that I had was a couple of slices of toast and some coffee. But I took all my meds. I got to be very careful with that, and so the battle as far as that goes continues. So yeah, keep your eyes open. Think about everything you can. Keep your mind working, because we cannot afford to sleep on this. And when the time comes to move overseas, we could conceivably move overseas and have like little MGTOW enclaves, like there's a MGTOW living in a city not too far south from here. I could go there, and then I would have other MGTOW around, right? And of course, MGTOW is growing in the States too. So being able to transition from networking, like speaking online like this, which is great, to being able to network in person, it's quite a difference, and it would be nice to be able to do it. But man, I tried doing that with a MGTOW that lived up north, and was sharing my mechanical skills with the guy, and then I went up there like the third time to help him work on his car, and some of my tools were missing, and I found one of my tools laying in the rain in the backyard. What the heck was it doing in the backyard? You know, and that's the last time I went there. So so basically, you know, if somebody, you know, maybe he thought I was, since I'm well off financially, that it wouldn't hurt if I lost some tools, but that is absolutely unspeakably wrong. So one MGTOW, in fact, he wasn't even claiming the word MGTOW, but he was watching my videos. I just can't continue associating with somebody who doesn't have my back. And if I leave tools there by accident, and then they get mistreated or lost or taken, that person clearly doesn't have my back, so he is not somebody I would want to associate with. But I am interested in associating with other MGTOW in person if I can. So, you know, I just thought I'd just throw that out there. And there are risks involved, but there are also tremendous benefits too. And that is like the next step as far as like MGTOW goes. As we grow and, you know, as we gain in prominence, I suspect that, you know, we're gonna have to find some way to be able to vet other MGTOW to be worthy, whether or not they're worth hanging out or not, right? Because a lot of MGTOW, right, who are in the groups and whatnot and watch the videos, some of them, you know, it's not entirely the woman's fault that their divorces blew up and everything. Some of them are assholes and are unworthy even to associate with other MGTOW, right? So it's kind of hard to decide, you know, or it's going to be some risk involved in associating with other MGTOW in person. But I still want to do it, and I still am willing to take that risk. So yeah, there you are. It's awesome to be able to, like, if you want to like go to a movie or something, or go hit like a restaurant or something, to have a number of other MGTOW to come along with you. That would be friggin' awesome. That is just about the only thing I miss about the Army, you know, because in the Army it sucks, and I was a slave, and it was, you can't quit, and you're abused up one side and down the other, but there were always other guys around. And you could say, I'm going to see a so-and-so movie, who wants to go? And then there'd be like 3 or 4 people. You'd all jump in a cab and take off to the theater, right? Or if one of us had a car, we would do that. So that is just about the only thing I miss about the military. Okay, MGTOWs, that's about all I got for you. There's one more little tidbit on the cancer thing. Before, you know, like before I came down here to Mexico, you know, the incisions, you know, on between what used to be my butt, you know, between my butt cheeks, it's like basically you got the 2 butt cheeks, and then there's like about an inch down, and then it's all sewn together, and it's just scar tissue now. And then I've got the incision in the front, and it's a big thing of scar tissue too. But it was sore and inflamed before, you know, and it was still healing. But I got some sun on it, you know, like for just for 15 minutes, I took some time to get some sun on it, and boy, what a difference! The inflammation decreased dramatically, and it feels like the scar or the incision has healed like a week in just like a day, you know. So if you've got like big, huge incisions and scars, like yeah, like other MGTOW, like um, it's kind of hard to pronounce his name, but I pronounce his name as Successful Endeavors. He spells it dramatically differently, but I call it Successful Endeavors. But basically, he's got some scars and whatnot, and incisions like between his sternum and whatnot. I would recommend getting some sun on those. But then again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a diesel mechanic. So, well, that's about all I got for you. I'm just going to hang out. I got my walk in this morning. I'm thinking about trying to see if I can hit the gym, do some mild lifting. I think I'm ready for it. And then tomorrow, hopefully, I'll get the results of that PET scan. Then I can find out when I can get if or when I can get the liver hypertherapy to get those liver tumors cooked out. And then I'm not sure then I'll find out about that lung thing, right? I either have something in the liver that's causing a little discomfort when I inhale all the way, or I've got something in my lung, like I couldn't really read their medical jargon translated through Google Translate. I couldn't really read it very well, but if it's spread to one of my lungs, well, shit happens. I am convinced that we've got an afterlife waiting for us. I've seen too much weird stuff, too much of those vision, like those, too much of that clairvoyance. I'm too likely to slow down before I even see the cop. I am too, I can see the auras around my hands out to about a half inch or so. And plus, there are just too many people who are born with memories that should belong to people who have already passed away like 20 years previously, right? Too much of that stuff happens. And if that's the case, it's just too unlikely that there isn't some kind of afterlife. And look how hard the Soros crowd and even the other people, who run the central banks. I call them banksters, and it's not racist and it's not anti-Semitic. Some people say, banksters, if you say banksters, it's anti-Semitic. Bullshit. If you say banksters, what it is, it means that they're crooked freaking banksters. And just because they're friggin' banksters doesn't mean you're friggin' anti-Semitic. So I'm tired of hearing that shit. Pardon me. So in any case, wow, I totally lost what I was saying. I had a little anger because I am tired of being accused of being a racist. I'm fucking sick of that shit. I mean, the leftists do it, and the friggin' small hat people do it too, And they're nice people. I don't have any problem with them, And yet they still call me a friggin' racist. I don't need that shit, and I'm tired of it. So basically, I'm not putting up with it anymore, And a friend of mine, Adam Meister, Bitcoin Meister, great guy, but he was moaning about that shit a few days ago, and I'm tired of it. So I don't want to hear it, And yeah. If he keeps going on like that shit, unsub. So yeah, and I like the guy. I agree on Bitcoins, and I'm not into trading just like he is. But if he starts calling me a racist or an anti-Semite, I am not tolerating that shit. So and I totally lost whatever the last bit of the video was that I was going to be talking about. So all I can say is keep your eyes open, watch for the traps, And when the time comes, if necessary, it might be necessary to switch countries or switch states. It's hard to tell, but if the left, and they probably will eventually, the Soros crowd's gonna take over. They will try to take our guns. They will try to wipe out our freedoms, And when that occurs, and when it is occurring, we've got to see it coming, and we've got to plan for it, and we've got to be able to jump. We've got to have the financial flexibility. We've got to have the physical flexibility and the emotional flexibility to be able to say goodbye to the country we were born in and move to another country if necessary. There's a bunch of island nations that I could go to, and some of them are fairly affordable. And especially after this next big, huge pump in Bitcoin that we're all that 90% of us are expecting, I'll be able to buy a passport, like a visa, and a permanent visa, and then I'll be able to renounce my U.S. citizenship if it becomes necessary. But only if supply and demand, and if another country offers me a better life than this country does, then, not this country, I'm in Mexico right now, but if another country offers me a better life, I see no reason why I need to be locked down to the U.S. And why would I need to stay in the U.S. for a pittance of a retirement through Social Security? It's like $1,000 a month or something. That will not make me or break me. So basically, I wouldn't have a problem giving that up. But I'm not ready to do it because right now the U.S., with their Second Amendment and and all of the freedoms that we still have, it is hard to beat the U.S. for the things that I value, and plus it's a huge country and so many different climates and so many different places you can go, and I am really looking forward to being able to, if I can get this cancer knocked down to the point where my immune system can suppress the residuals at least for a few years, then I'll be in that camper and I'll be running around the country and working on tractors and putting in solar power grid, solar collection system, building rocket mass heaters and building hugelkultur beds and earth sheltered houses and power systems for those and plumbing systems for those. And there is just so much fun to be had. It's not something I will give up easily. So there you are, MGTOWs. That's about all I can think of offhand. And yeah, that's about all I can think of. And don't get married.